So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Galaxy S26 Ultra. Who should not buy this phone? By the end of the video, you're going to find out if you're a person who should not buy it. We already talked a lot about who should buy it. We already talked a lot about, the greatness of this phone in certain areas. I've been praising it basically since it came out in multiple speed tests. But it's time to give a different perspective. It's time to talk about people who shouldn't buy it, because the truth of the matter is not everybody should buy this phone. And I do want to make it very clear, I do really like this phone. I think it's a great device, but not for everyone. Let's go ahead and talk about those specific customers or people who should not even look at this device or necessarily pick this one. We'll start with number one. Those of you who are very sensitive to display changes, and you're okay with giving up some innovation for maybe a display that looks easier to your eye. We're talking about privacy display. Now, privacy display is an awesome feature. It's innovative. It's really great. But for people who are very sensitive to pixel changes, resolution, stuff like that, they are going to notice maybe slightly a difference, especially when it's enabled. And when it's off, even some people have noticed slightly fuzzier text on certain angles. This is due to the hardware level, the way the pixels have been arranged to make that innovative feature work. Now, there have been videos showcasing it's not really noticeable. I have a very sensitive eye, and I could tell you I look at tons of phone screens. If you have a detailed eye, this is definitely noticeable. You will see it. If you're a person who doesn't look closely at pixels or closely at your display, you always look at it at a distance, you're not really close up on it too much, you're not going to notice it at all. But you will if you're that type of person who's sensitive to resolution. Trust me on this one. I'm one of them, and I could definitely tell the visual trade-offs. However, I don't really care that much because personally it doesn't hurt my eye. It just looks slightly different than the S25 Ultra, but you should not probably get this phone if that is something that really bothers you when buying a smartphone. The second one is PWM sensitivity. Now, you're not going to see too much of it here, but one of the things about the Samsung Galaxy series is we haven't seen a ton of advancements or at least feature upgrades into the area of flicker. You'll see on a lot of competing phones, they'll have like eye care options and stuff like that, especially some of the Chinese phones out there. But this one, they do give you the adaptive color tone, which is kind of like True Tone, adjusting the color tones. Eye Comfort Shield definitely helps with blue light at nighttime. These are some standard features you'll find in most phones though, those type of features, but we don't see any emphasis on PWM or flickering enhancements here. I do like how you can get this thing as bright as possible, and when you have it on extra brightness, you don't really see too much of that PWM being an issue, but especially at lower brightnesses, the flicker rate is too low, I think, for people sensitive to this. However, I will say that it's better than some older Samsungs, which are even worse than this. But at the same time, the PWM features haven't been really given a lot of attention still on the current Ultra. So if you're looking for anti-flicker displays or very easy on the eye panels, I think this one is going to be one that will bother you. But if you don't really are bothered by that and you like a much more vibrant, bright display, I think this also beats a lot of the competition. So it's kind of like a trade-off. You gotta look at it yourself in person, see if it works for you, or even if you're not sure, maybe pick one up, use it for a while, see how it operates for you, and then you'll make your decision based on that. Because sometimes in the store, it's kind of hard to tell. It's not going to bother you at high brightness in the store. You don't really notice these things until you actually own it and it's nighttime and you're like, why is my eye straining? So you'll have to figure out if that's the thing that bothers you or not. But if it is, if you're in that small group of people, then this might not be for you. So at number 3 is the premium price tag. When I picked this up though, I got a great trade-in deal. So this only applies if you're buying it full out, like full price, the highest price tags here. You'll pay on a slab phone. This is one of the highest ones out there. So if you're looking for a device that is a better value, you probably should look at maybe the FE line. Maybe you should look at the base model S26, although that kind of went up as well. And with AI hogging up the storage, these days, storage is on the increase. So the storage tiers are usually costing a bit more. One of the good things though is that Samsung is still throwing discounts on the current S26 Ultra. You'll see right here, they dropped the 512 gig to $1149, and you'll be able to get a trade-in value of a bit higher as well than most competitors, and it's instant. So if you take advantage of discounts, then this phone becomes a lot cheaper. But if you don't have those trade-ins, I'm talking about the price premium at retail, this is definitely a pretty high cost phone, but it's not usually as high as, say, a 17 Pro Max. But still, if you're looking for value, you're looking for the cheapest, best price to performance ratio, you're going to pay to play with this one. This is a big dog, and you're just going to pay the big price for it usually, or you're trading something in to get that price lower. So you should probably not buy if you're looking for the cheapest phone out there. That's pretty common sense there. I would say, moving on to number 4, I would say the Ergonomics. If you don't like a phone that feels large and you got to do this, like move your pinky around a lot to kind of get it in a one-handed format, this is probably not for you. This is a definite big boy tablet-y style phone right here. It's big. Let's just put it that way. I know they made the corners softer and smoother. I do commend them for that. It's been really, really more comfortable than some previous versions, especially the S24 Ultra. It's lighter, feels more comfortable to hold in those. But you can see I do have to adjust my pinky just to hold this thing, and it's not quite as smooth in the corners as like a Pixel or an iPhone with those more rounded corners, although they have rounded it off a little bit. This phone right here, you should probably not buy it if you're looking for the most cozy, comfortable one-handed experience. That's pretty obvious. I have heard people say that they would like to see a smaller version of the Ultra. I think they did that one time with the Notes, but it would be nice to see an S Pen smaller version of this phone and just get rid of the base, or make a base S26 Pro so you can have like the best of both worlds. You can have the bigger performance, the better cameras, but you don't have to be subjected to just getting this size. I wish they would do something like that. So if you're looking for one of the more comfortable design shapes on the market, I don't think this one is for you. This is one for a person who don't mind holding the phone one hand, using the other hand to operate it, or using two hands, or just kind of like holding it most of the time with two hands. This is definitely one of those types of phones. Definitely could be a little bit unwieldy for some people. Next one is incremental hardware upgrades. The battery is actually the same size as the past 2 generations of Galaxy, although it is better because the efficiency of the chip and One UI. So the phone still lasts an hour or so longer. But at the same time, this phone still has a smaller 5,000 lithium ion cell. Now that's good for longevity as it's a proven battery technology, but the issue is that it definitely doesn't feel like an upgrade when you have silicon carbon competitors outshining this by a substantial amount in use. But I will say it does adapt to your use, and it's pretty much an all-day phone, but it's still not 17 Pro Max good to me. It doesn't last 2 days. It can last a day and a quarter, but the iPhone can last like nearly the whole entire second day with similar usage. So for me, this is definitely a all-day heavy use. It's really good battery, but it's just not like super impressive, amazing upgrade over the past version, which in that case, if you were looking for that, I probably would steer clear. The better cameras though are nice, but they're not like so much better. If you're coming from an S25 Ultra, even an S24 Ultra, they do have some nice feature upgrades. But if you're looking for like innovative new camera systems overall, they're not substantially different than even the past 2 generations. They do have a couple of video features, better processing with AI, so they are improvements. But again, the overall whole, when you look at the whole package, you are getting mostly a similar package as even an S24 Ultra. If you look here, you don't go quite as ultra wide either. They didn't bring an ultra wide camera, so definitely if you're looking for an ultra wide camera on the front, this is a no for me either. Let's talk about the next one, which is no Qi 2, support. Well, basically the magnetic charging without using a specialized case. So I do have this stand I like to put my phones on to go ahead and read some notes. If I put this here, you can see it's just going to slide down. And I think for this price, it's pretty ridiculous that this doesn't have this feature. I mean, the iPhone 17e costs twice less than this phone, and it has this feature. Even the Pixel, which a lot of people say shouldn't even be in the topic of conversation with these higher chip phones, has that feature. So I'd like to see that on the next version. I understand for it's lighter, and research shows that the research shows that the cases, most people use a case with that magnetic, but at the same time, not everyone does. Some people use a skin, and sometimes you want to take it off the case to put it on those accessories, for example, and you would like to have it just built right in. So, and also it allows for a lot more accessories to start being made for the product, which expands that ecosystem of MagSafe style accessories. So I would say that having magnetic, charging Qi 2 in there would be really, really very good for this device if they would get it. But if that's something you're looking for, I would probably say no to this one. You should not buy this thing if you are not into phones that are feeling like overstimulating, over the top with AI. This phone is not a clean, minimal experience. It is a feature-packed beast, is what it is. And if you're looking for something that's low stimulation, something like maybe like a nothing phone, for example, like low amount of AI, just like the stuff you need, something like a Pixel, like a little bit less over the top with the features, this is definitely not for you. So if you prefer a clean, streamlined, simple phone, I would say steer clear. This one is a absolute beast of a performer with all the features you could ever think of. And so that's where this shines. And that's why a lot of people love this phone. They think it's better than most phones out there, is because it has pretty much all those things that those phones have and more. But for some, that could be a con, because it could be too much overload for what they want to deal with on the day-to-day. And number 8, a lot of people say this is not an issue because once you put it in a case, it doesn't wobble anymore. But this phone wobbles quite a bit. I've actually heard comments saying, whoever types on a table, you'd be surprised. Sometimes you're talking to somebody at the counter, you're eating a sandwich or whatever, you need to do a quick type, and then you're like, well, this thing's wobbling all over the place. You'd be surprised. It happens. Now, I want to also talk about the case discussion there. People say put it in a case, doesn't wobble no more. Wrong. It still wobbles a bit. Has it reduced? Yeah, quite a bit it has, but it doesn't fully take it away, especially if that case is rather thin. So that's just something to point out. If you're into like phones that don't really wobble too much on the table, it's a small one, minor pet peeve, pretty petty to talk about, honestly. But for some people, they just don't like when cameras stick more off the body and they're not flush. That could be something for you. Also, I'd have to state, I think if this phone was to hit the ground, you're going to crack those cameras easily because they stick clearly off the body on that island right there. They look clean. But if you don't have a case on this thing, I think, boom, right on the corner, because you can see how it sits up there on that island. So I can only imagine it hitting the ground, bang, that's it. Goodbye, cameras. They're probably going to crack if you hit them on cement or something like that. Now, number 9, if you prefer ultra-wide front-facing cameras like you've seen on the iPhone, this is definitely one I would say steer clear of. So if you're looking for front-facing camera upgrades, this one doesn't have it. And lastly, if you're looking for the fastest, like 100 watt type fast charging, this also isn't it. We go with 60 watts here, which is an upgrade over the previous version and more than enough, I think, for most people. But for you users out there who are looking for OnePlus style speed in charging, this is not it. So I wanted to give a different perspective here. Who should not consider this, because I basically am always just praising this phone. So I like to give a balanced perspective and see the other side of the coin. And for some, the grass isn't always greener on this side. And those are some of the areas that I think you would probably be like, nah, bro, I had to return this, or maybe even think about something else. And yeah, so let me know if you agree with this for the case of who should not buy it. Now, if you want to see who should buy it, check out my reviews, check out my 3 weeks later. I talk a lot about the great things about this phone. And again, I love this phone. This is my device here personally that I pay with my own money. And so I'm definitely not returning it or selling it. This is an excellent phone overall. I like pretty much everything about it. But some of those things could just be the deal breakers for some of you out there. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you on the next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.